All right. So another EPR topic, broader in scope, so a little more complicated. But I do want to thank the committee for its due diligence with this measure. This bill relates to household hazardous waste. And literally thousands, the challenge here is that thousands of everyday household products are classified as household hazardous waste. Now, of course, most residents, recycling's hard enough, but there's a lot of education about that. People just simply don't know what's considered hazardous, what's not. That makes it really hard for so many of us to know how to manage a dangerous product at the end of life. I've ended up, not too long ago, I was at a state-of-the-art MRF recycling facility, and sure enough, household hazardous waste packaging was in with food packaging, which of course was going to contaminate the system. And the thing is, even when the product simply cannot be thrown away, so many communities lack collection systems or drop-off facilities. You're starting to see collection and disposal costs increasing for our constituents and for our cities. Cities and counties are turning around. They're either raising the rates to cover the costs, or they're having to reduce services, which further reduces convenience for local residences. In some extreme cases, you actually had cities had to cut other types of social services just to be able to make their waste obligations. And by the way, Cal Recycle's got some limited grants to build new facilities or expand existing ones, but funding's fallen way short of what's actually needed. I mean, just to give you an example, Cal Recycle's facilities grant program has a cap of $5 million a year. There's a construction of a new facility in Sonoma that's going to cost something like $15 million a year. The delta is enormous. So to address these, both the crushing costs and the lack of convenient access to a proper disposal system for household hazardous waste, this bill requires producers of the most toxic consumer products, at least in its current form, to form a PRO, a producer responsibility organization, that will be tasked with enhancing accessibility and fully funding the safe collection, transportation, and disposal of the waste. We are in conversation with the opposition about some flexibility and alternatives, but that's a discussion that's currently underway. This allows producers to cost effectively improve access to convenient disposal. They can either fund an improved local system, or they can create an alternative. As I say, we're having really robust conversations about what the various alternatives might look like. It also requires robust education and outreach to ensure consumers know which products are toxic and how to handle them properly. Lastly, the bill will encourage producers to invest in less toxic alternatives. I know that's been an area of real interest for this committee and many of you members. I know because none of you have bills come before EQ on these topics. I mean, the idea is that if a producer would prefer not to participate in the system that we structure under the bill, one way to get out would be to reformulate their product to a non-toxic alternative. Under the current system, producers don't consider the end-of-life costs when formulating their products. Those costs don't appear on their balance sheets. They have no skin in the game, no accountability, and we're all paying the costs for that lack of accountability. And the problem is that as much as some folks love one-offs, this is an issue that is too widespread to tackle product by product. This bill seeks to establish a comprehensive program to address the most dangerous consumer products and shifts the burden for paying for their end-of-life management from our local cities and counties and ratepayers, your constituents, regular folks back home, to the people who have the most control over the design and end use of these products, the producers that are putting these products out onto the market. We've been working really diligently with the industry groups opposing this bill. We're committed to continuing that discussion. I'm really hopeful that we're going to be able to find a path that all stakeholders can feel good about. Today, I have Heidi Sanborn from National Stewardship Action Council and also John Kennedy from the rural counties to speak in support of the bill.
Thank you, Senator Allen, for your leadership on this, and thank you, members. I am Heidi Sanborn. I'm the director for the National Stewardship Action Council. We are the sponsor of this bill and are experts in EPR nationally. I chaired the statewide Commission on Recycling Markets and Curbside Recycling, and we were tasked with giving recommendations to the legislature on what to do with waste issues. We came up with 34 recommendations in 2 years, but the first one that we came up with in 2020 was that we needed EPR for household hazardous waste. And the reason is that there is no market for these materials. They're the most dangerous. And as Senator Allen said, when we go to material recovery facilities, we literally saw in Galt at the material recovery facility that only takes blue bin materials. They pulled 183,000 pounds of household hazardous waste off a material sort line that was supposed to be only recyclables. All of that is contaminating our packaging and the other items that we're trying to recycle that we just passed with SB 54 a few years ago. So this is going to become an issue for actually that bill as well. The costs are outrageous for household hazardous waste. LA County is spending $9 million a year, and they estimate they're getting about 5% of it back. It's extraordinarily expensive. It's dangerous for our workers, and we have one of the top 10 most dangerous worker injury rates of any industry. The legislative path previously has been product by product. We've done medicines and needles. We've done paint. But what we really want to see is one harmonized statewide approach for what's left. Because if we keep going at this rate, we're just going to add a lot of administrative costs for all these different producer-run organizations, one product at a time. So we've been meeting with stakeholders. We're talking to the e-waste industry again next week. We're excited that Paint Care wants to take more of their products back. They've got a great program. And we have been working with the opposition and even offered maybe a year delay. We know there's a lot going on right now, but we're happy to talk about all these things, but we really do need to do something about the most dangerous and toxic products that really have no home for the environment and for public health. So we ask respectfully for your aye vote.
Good afternoon. John Kennedy with Rural County Representatives of California, here today to support SB 1143. Local governments are really the backbone of solid waste collection and recycling in the state of California, and this includes hazardous waste management. We own and operate landfills, transfer stations, household hazardous waste collection facilities, and we manage all the materials that come into those facilities. So we get HHW coming into our household hazardous waste collection facilities, temporary events, load check programs where things are accidentally discarded in the trash that shouldn't be, and then cleanup of illegal dumping. At the same time, we have absolutely no control over what gets introduced into the marketplace that we have to manage at the end of its useful life. In some cases, our cost to manage a product can equal or exceed the cost to the consumer at the point of sale for that product. Most counties operate at least one permanent HHW collection facility. Many operate temporary take-back events as well. These, as the author and Heidi mentioned, are very expensive to operate. Even smaller programs that have budgets in the hundreds of thousands of dollars can be very expensive for very small communities. So we try to make collection as free as possible, as safe, convenient, and affordable. Most of our facilities offer free disposal to residents. To keep those costs low, we try to keep those costs low because higher gate fees will induce people to go throw stuff away illegally on the side of the road, and that gets more expensive for us to manage because we have to go find it. By that time, it may have degraded. We have to clean it up and then bear the cost of managing it. So we support SB 1143 today because it increases manufacturer involvement in the process of managing the products they introduce into the marketplace. We hope that will lead to product and packaging redesign. A single example would be gas cylinders. It would be nice to know that they are either refillable or that they can easily be verified as empty. If empty, we can throw them in the trash or recycle them. If not empty, they are hazardous waste. And then finally, it helps us reduce HHW management and disposal costs. For those reasons, we support SB 1143 and urge your aye vote.
Thank you so much. Any persons in the hearing room who would like to register their support for this measure?
Chris Arenas with California Against Waste in support of this measure.
Megan Shumway on behalf of Climate Action California, Climate Reality Projects California Coalition, and Santa Cruz Climate Action Network in support.
Mr. Chair, Dylan Elliott on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco, the County of San Joaquin, California Product Stewardship Council, Stop Waste, the Western Placer Waste Management Authority, and Solid Waste Association of North America, all in support. Thank you.
Melissa Romero, California Environmental Voters in support.
Megan Meckelberg on behalf of Rethink Waste in support.
Melissa Sparks-Kranz with the League of California Cities in support.
Jordan Wells expressing support for Zero Waste Sonoma, Napa Recycling and Waste Services, Sea Hugger, Marin Sanitary Service, Sustainable Mill Valley, City of Thousand Oaks, Ban Single-Use Plastics, Clean Water Action, Pesticide Action Network, D-Spray Environmental, Environmental Working Group, Northern California Recycling Association, Zero Waste Marin Joint Powers Authority, Mojave Desert and Mountain Recycling Authority, Elders Climate Action Northern and Southern California chapters, North American Hazardous Materials Management Association, Five Gyres, and Green Waste. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Lindsay Goldhorn with Capital Advocacy on behalf of the Resource Recovery Coalition of California and support.
John Moffat on behalf of Waste Management and support.
David Krieger for Waste Connections and support.
Jeremy Jones, American Coatings Association, parent organization of Paint Care and proud San Diego County resident, in support.
Josh Gallagher on behalf of the counties of Santa Clara, Los Angeles, and Santa Barbara in support.
Chair members, Roman Vogelsang with the Prey and Company on behalf of Republic Services in support.
Thank you so much. Any persons in the hearing room who would like to register their opposition to this measure? Come on down.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair and members. Nicole Quinones on behalf of the Household and Commercial Products Association in opposition to SB 1143. Our members manufacture many of the products that are included in the scope of this bill, from pesticides, which include household products like disinfectants, to aerosol products and automotive products. We appreciate the author's office and sponsor for their willingness to engage with us on this important topic. However, we believe passing SB 1143 this year would be premature for the following reasons. SB 54 by Senator Allen, Mr. EPR as you termed, is the most comprehensive and rigorous EPR program in the country, designed to manage packaging waste. And the companies within the scope of SB 54 are also within the scope of this bill 1143. There's some significant overlap there, as well as CalRecycle staff, which would be required to create the program and develop it. All of those parties are spending significant resources, both time and financial, to ensure that SB 54 is implemented correctly and everyone is complying and that that program is successful. Because of that overlap, there's also overlap between the scope of the programs. Some of the packaging that would contain the household hazardous waste material could be included under the scope of SB 1143, and we believe that it should only, those products should only be covered by one EPR program. We also believe more study is warranted in lieu of establishing the new EPR program for household hazardous waste. Just to be clear, we don't object to the expansion of the Paint Care program, but we have offered to conduct an industry-funded needs assessment to better understand the gaps in household hazardous waste collection and management, and most importantly, the resources that would be necessary to improve its collection. That would be just a first step, and we would be committed to coming back to the table once we have that data to create a better program moving forward. Additionally, as the analysis notes, DTSC is updating their hazardous waste management plan, which is due to the legislature in March of 2025, and we see this report as a critical for setting the foundation of what is considered household hazardous waste. California has the strictest criteria in the nation for determining what is hazardous waste, which results in many more products being managed as hazardous than would be anywhere else in the country. DTSC is considering whether the strict criteria are still necessary, considering the environmental protections that are now in place, such as better solid waste facility designs. We believe addressing the criteria prior to establishing this program will create a more even playing field and avoid the need to potentially remove producers and products who have already paid into establishing a new PRO if they are conceivably no longer in scope once that criteria is updated. But with that, we are committed.
3 minutes.
Okay. With that, we're committed to working to improve the management of household hazardous waste in the state, but are opposed today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other persons in the hearing room who would like to register their opposition?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Dawn Kepke on behalf of the California Manufacturers and Technology Association, as well as the Chemical Industry Council of California, in respectful opposition.
Dan Chaw for Redwood Materials. We have an opposed unless amended position, but I think we'll be able to get to neutral with the discussion with the author and the sponsor. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Taylor Roshan on behalf of Western Plant Health Association and RISE in opposed.
Greg Herner on behalf of the Can Manufacturers Institute in opposition.
Good afternoon. Adam Regley with the California Chamber of Commerce in respectful opposition. Thank you.
Obed Franco on behalf of the American Chemistry Council in respectful opposition.
Good afternoon. Annalie Augustine on behalf of Consumer Brands Association, respectfully opposed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll now turn it back to committee members. Any questions, comments, concerns for the author? Assemblyman Brower-Cahan.
So I want to thank Mr. Extended Responsibility. Is that what you called him, Mr. Chair?
Mr. PRA.
Mr. PRA.
PRO.
PRA too.
You know, and I think this is really important. I used to do hazardous waste disposal as part of my legal practice, and even I would realize in the course of my practice that I was disposing of things wrong. It is that complicated to get it right. And so I think it is really critical that we figure out how to educate folks so that we're not putting things in landfills we otherwise shouldn't be, and make it easy enough that people will actually dispose of these things properly. But I wanted to dive in a little bit to the list. You have here, instead of just what is already defined as household hazardous waste, which could be amended, you actually have a list in the bill. And it was a little bit perplexing to me. I actually feel like your witness who said that an empty gas cylinder wouldn't qualify according to this, I think it would, because it just lists gas cylinders. It doesn't say they have to be full. And then you have like health and beauty products are out, but aerosols are in. So I guess talk to me. What? Oh, and Mr. Flora wants me to stop talking.
Heidi
Yeah,
Samwer to
please,
respond.
whoever wants
So
to
we were trying to narrow, because there are things like consumer beauty products that we clearly, that's not the target. We're trying to get the most dangerous and toxic things. And I do believe that that might have been a misstatement. We've also got the layered bill that's dealing with gas cylinders on as well. So that's in play. So we tried to narrow it down, and there's even other products that we found that have come into hazardous waste facilities since we started working on this that are odd things that aren't covered. But at this point, we just want to get the core, most dangerous, toxic things that are ending up the most disposed of in the wrong places now. And then later, those discussions can happen with DTSC, and they're looking at all of, that's why we've offered a delay as well, because fine. I mean, I'm not sure in March if we're going to have a whole bunch of new information from DTSC, but we do know that there's a lot of dangerous things, and if we wait to do anything, that's kind of why we're at where we're at, because everybody's been waiting for more clarity on who's in charge. We've got two agencies that are partly responsible for these products, but nobody's ever really taken this on, and so we narrowed it to something that we think is the most urgent to manage.
Right. And to clarify, so this list isn't everything that we see in our facilities. We've been in discussions. We had a 10-pound can of, I think it was calcium carbide, come into our facility. It's going to cost us $2,000 to properly dispose of that. It's not covered here, and that's fine. This is going to help with a lot of the things that do come into our facilities. When we talk about cylinders, say propane or something, it doesn't have to be managed as HHW if it's completely empty. It's very hard for us to tell if it's completely empty. If there's any residual left, it's HHW.
No, that's fair.
And so they are coming to our facilities. They are managed as HHW. But if we can nudge some of the manufacturers to design some of these products so we can tell that they're empty, that eliminates some things from our HHW waste stream, eliminates some of the costs that they would otherwise bear. So
So I guess I agree with what you guys are saying, and yet I think your bill doesn't function the way you're talking about it, which is to give the flexibility for what you just said to be true, I think is meaningful, and I don't know that the bill does this because it's so delineated, right? So I guess that's where I'm a little bit stuck, because I really appreciate what the senator said about moving us to more responsible products, but when you list all fertilizers, right, with no room to say if you're moving to a less toxic fertilizer that perhaps doesn't qualify, that's not included here. So I guess I'm just struggling to see how it functions the way you intended to.
It's under the umbrella of the 4 key things that make something toxic, which means it has to be corrosive, flammable, and there's 2 others that I'll forget. But it has to meet those criteria first before it's under that list. So if it's a fertilizer that's not meeting one of those 4, then it would not qualify. They could be out of the program.
Toxic.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
Got it. And it's all of these things. So it has to qualify as household arrest and be one of those products.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Got it. So if they were to take it out of household hazardous waste, then it would no longer be covered by this.
Exactly.
Correct. That's
that
our
was
goal.
clarification
Be
that
great
I
if they
needed. So I do think, look, I don't have a lot of faith in DTSC. They're going to be right on time. I don't know that anybody in the room, including Mr. Allen, does, seeing as he's the one who goes after DTSC the most in the legislature. But I do think it's important that we do make room for folks to be able to adapt and comply. And having again done disposal myself, I'm sympathetic to not only the cost but the reactions that happen. It's dangerous to not be disposing of these things properly for the humans who are interacting with these products and not even realizing they are. And so for everyone watching, store your pool chemicals separately. But I think we do need to be careful in how we draft this. I hope you'll continue to work with the opposition to make sure that we are leaving room for them to continue to work and ensure this covers the products we need to cover, and as we move forward, to leave out those that don't. But I appreciate the clarification.
Seeing none, Mr. Allen, would you like to close?
Yeah, appreciate the discussion, and we're very committed to seeing what we can land this summer. Again, these EPR bills are complicated. There's a lot of details associated with every product. Everyone's different. You can't just apply a model and lock shut just from one bill to another. And it's what makes this work really fun, but also challenging. And I hear the concern about wanting to make sure that we have this updated plan from DTSA. I will say I think we have a general sense of what's going to be in there. We also, it's part of why we provide such a long runway, and we continue to be open to new suggestions as to how to ensure that this can be implemented as effectively and seamlessly and painlessly as possible for industry. And I think that's going to be the focus of our conversations over the next month, assuming the bill gets out of committee today. So it's in that spirit that I respectfully ask for a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. This bill has a due pass from the chair. Do we have a motion? Senator Bauer-Cahan and Senator Pellerin. Madam Secretary, can we call the roll?
The motion is due pass to appropriations. Bryan?
Aye.
Bryan, aye. Flora? No. Flora, no. Bauer-Cahan? Bauer-Cahan, aye. Connolly? Connolly, aye. Friedman? Hoover? Cholera? Lackey?
Not voting.
Lackey not voting. Maritsucci? Pellerin? Aye. Pellerin, aye. Wicks? Wood.
Pass forward, we'll leave the roll open.
All right.